Whether the team has given us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, I've been hinting at this all week. It's a topic that I wanted to get to. Now, I will preface it by saying Drake Jackson will not be available this week, and I did not think he would be available this week. I'm just happy that he's practicing on a limited basis. It does lend itself to him being available next week versus the Philadelphia Eagles on a short week, as the team will take on the Eagles on Saturday next week. I think he will be available for that football game. I'm looking forward to seeing what he looks like. So, my question to you guys, Ben Sinnott, we've been told this week, is supposed to be getting an extended look with the injury to Zach Ertz. They haven't done anything else at the tight end position, i.e. bring up another tight end or do anything, because they already had 4 on the roster. So they just kept the number at 3, and they're going to roll with what they currently have. So with that said, are you more intrigued by the sample size that we're going to get of Ben Sinnott down the stretch or Drake Jackson? Now, again, let's just assume, and we could be wrong and out of pocket for assuming this, because until Drake Jackson actually suits up for this team, he's Noah Brown on the defensive side of the football. But again, my thought process is, and again, I could be flawed in the way that I'm approaching this, but my thought process here is that they would not have activated him from his 21-day window if they didn't think they could get some sort of play out of him down the stretch. They would have just allowed his 21-day window to expire. He would have been placed on IR, and he would have been back here next year in OTAs, and you go from there, right? Can't miss what you've never had. We would have been like, Drake Jackson, that sucks. Another AP swing and miss, and then we would have went on to the next topic. But they think he's going to be healthy. I believe he's going to play this next week, against the Philadelphia Eagles. And again, we have to temper our expectations of him because he's coming off of 2 different injuries. And so when he finally does play, he's not going to be like sharp. He's going to be extremely rusty. This is a guy that has not played since 2023, right? Didn't play. He played the first 7 games of the 2023 season. So he basically missed over half of the 2023 season. Didn't play at all in 2024 and hasn't played this year. So you're talking about a guy that basically hasn't played football in over 2 years. However, I am hoping to see some sort of flash. Anything that suggests that, hey, we might have gotten a gem. Similar to Traylon. We haven't seen a ton from Traylon Burks. We're so starved at the receiver position. The man has made like 3 catches. One was outstanding, I must say. But he's made like 3 catches, and we're all over here going crazy like, oh, shit, we might have found something. We're so starved that it doesn't take much. So if Drake Jackson shows us one dynamic move in a pressure and he gets a sack off of it, we're sold. We don't need to see much. I don't think, at least. We got nothing at defensive end. Nothing. On the other hand, Ben Sinnott. Now, both of these guys are former second-round picks. So it's not like, and again, you could argue Ben Sinnott should have never been a second-round pick. Some would argue Drake Jackson shouldn't have been a second-round pick. That's not for me to decide. All we know is that both of these guys were drafted in the second round. So they're of equal value there. It's not like one guy's a 6th-round pick and the other guy's a 2nd-round pick. They're on equal footing. They're equally yoked in that regard. So from that standpoint, Ben Sinnott gonna get an opportunity, at least that's what we were told this week, to showcase why he was a second-round pick. They've told us over and over again, he's done all the right things. He's taken all the right steps. He's such a great pass catcher. He's such a great athlete. We saw it at the combine. We ain't seen it since he's gotten here to Washington. We've seen more of Colson Yankoff in that role than we have Ben Sinnott. Which of these two occurrences are you more intrigued by at this point of the season? You're going to get a small sample size from both of them. Maybe 4 weeks of Ben Sinnott, assuming that he plays and plays a lot more than the 12 to 15 snaps we're accustomed to seeing him get. In this game, and then hopefully you get Drake Jackson back next week and you're able to see him for the final 3 games. Whose sample size are you more intrigued by down the stretch of this season? Drake Jackson or Ben Sinnott? Leave it down in the comment section. Choose wisely. I'm looking very forward to both of these guys playing. But if you ask me, I'm way more intrigued by Drake Jackson. I'm way more intrigued by Drake Jackson. But again, he's got to get on the field. We'll see what Ben Sinnott can do. I kind of got an idea of what Ben Sinnott is in my mind. It'd be nice to see it on a football field. I want Ben Sinnott to be what they drafted him to be so bad. But I'm smart enough to know that the reality of it is he probably won't be. He probably will never live up to the billing of a second-round pick. Here's his opportunity to start the process of staking that claim, however, that he is, in fact, worthy or was worthy of a second-round pick. We'll see what happens. As we travel into other news, where we heard from DQ today, he had a very abbreviated press conference on a Friday. So we'll talk about what was said by DQ. But before we do that, as you already know, we have to take a look at the injury report for both teams heading into Week 15's contest. We start with the good guys. Jaden Daniels, we know, already out of this game, but good news, he was limited all week long. Again, it really lends itself to him coming back and playing at some point this season. I wouldn't be shocked if he played next week against the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, you know where I stand. I don't want him playing the rest of this season, but that's not up to me. And clearly, DQ is fighting to win a game, and he knows that 5 gives him the best chance to do that. So feels like Jaden's going to return at some point this season. It would be nice if they're just getting him reps just to continue to keep him sharp into the offseason. That would be great. But that's not what's happening here. So Drake Jackson limited again. Again, that's a positive that he was limited for the second consecutive day, meaning next week I expect full participation from him as soon as practice starts. I'm assuming practice will start a day early next week because the game is on a Saturday. I would assume, I could be wrong, and they could keep their schedule as close to normal as possible, being that they're not the road team. They could just keep practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but it makes sense to go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and, have the walkthrough Friday, play the game on Saturday. That's what I anticipate happening. It makes sense not to bring Drake Jackson back this week if there's any questions, because it's a short week next week. It might even make sense for him not to play next week because it's an even shorter week the following week when you turn around and you play on a Thursday, and that be the game that they bring him back, the Thursday Christmas game, or bring him into the fold as a Commander and make his debut against the Cowboys on a Christmas Day. We'll see, but I expect Drake Jackson to play at some point this season, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he looks like when he finally does. Jonathan Jones, this felt like he was going to be out. I was hoping he'd pull a Bobby Wagner and somehow be full on Friday and play. You do realize what this means, right? Now, you know what would be really good is if they just took one of the young fellas, the kid from ODU or the kid out of South Carolina, Rush. It'd be great if they just took one of the young boys off the practice squad and elevated them to starter. I don't need to see Antonio Hamilton Sr. at cornerback, but that's what they're going to do. He's been the guy getting all the reps in the games when things happen. Yikes. Boy, we're so down bad at corner. This is nasty. Then they're going to have to bring someone up to replace him because he was the quote unquote depth. So, you could put Noah Igbenogany out there, but then who are you going to put in this slot? Again, boy, we're down bad. You weaken two positions if you do that. Noah in the slot is a lot more proficient than Noah out wide. So you might as well just take your chances with Antonio Hamilton Sr. at corner out wide opposite of Mikey. Jesus. Chris Rodriguez was limited the last 2 days. He'll be questionable. He's going to play. Debo, illness, didn't practice today. He's going to play on Sunday. Everybody else, all ready to go. Noah Brown, Terry McLaurin had planned days off today. So they didn't practice. And George Fant and Bobby Wagner both practiced in full today and are going to play. They are off the injury report. So, again, a very non-threatening injury report for the Commanders. But the Jonathan Jones injury does impact this team. He was actually playing well at the cornerback position, too. All right, so for the Giants, we talked about their injury report, and it got a lot more interesting as the week progressed. I just assumed that this thing would clear up at some point, and it really never did. It actually kept getting worse and worse coming off of their bye. So, Victor Dimukeji is out. Not that matters. Jamie Gillian is doubtful. That's a big deal. That's their punter. Also their placeholder, right? Their holder. So that could be impactful for the Giants. Nick Jones is out. Raheem Nunez Roches, who I talked about this week, is a really good rotational depth defensive lineman, is out. Gunnar Olszewski is questionable. I think he's going to play. Kayvon Thibodeau is the biggest one. He is out with a shoulder injury. Ouch. Okay. All right. Bo Collins, who has actually been playing solid wide receiver for the Giants, is out. Their receiver position looks pretty nasty. Not worse than ours, obviously. They still have a couple of guys that can hurt us. But we can't cover to save our life. Wan'Dale Robinson. He's like kryptonite for us. Dexter Lawrence showed up on the injury report today with a hamstring. That's something to keep an eye on. But Theo Johnson's going to play. Tyrone Tracy's going to play. Tyler Nubin's going to play. So, like, most of the guys that are difference makers are going to play in this game. So, two bad teams going at it. Yay. Hey, how about that? So, DQ had his presser today, as he does on Friday. He started off his press conference talking about his captains. Offensively, Noah Brown is a captain. I almost laughed when he said that. But Noah Brown is from that area, close to New York, Jersey area. So he made him a captain based off of that. Defensively, Jordan McGee is your captain this week. And special teams, Jalen Lane is your special teams captain. For those of you who are keeping score at home. He then finished his overall address before opening the floor to questions from the media by basically saying he told the team that he demands more urgency from them this week. That is the theme. They need more urgency. And he didn't see that last week, obviously. Wants to see it this week. It's the NFC East. He feels like that should be enough to get guys to play at a high level. So we'll see. He was then asked about Jordan McGee and how do you get experience for him as a Mike if he's not getting those reps in the game? Jordan McGee has told the media, and we've been told by coaches, that they see him as a future Mike linebacker, which is what he played at Temple. So if that's how you view him, if that's what you think his role is moving forward, yet you can't get him on the field in that capacity because Bobby Wagner is your green dot, how do you get him the reps that he needs? And DQ basically went the practice route. Like, Bobby's been out of practice each of the last 2 weeks, basically, and Jordan's been taking every single rep at middle linebacker as the Mike with the green dot. That's great, but that's not the game, if you ask me. But okay, I get it. I understand. He was then asked about the injured guys, the guys who are out for the season, who have had major surgery, hanging around the facility, being around the team. We've seen Dietrich Wise around a lot. Austin Eckler has shown up a few times. Other guys that are done for the season are around this team, Dorrance Armstrong. And so DQ said, I didn't ask them to do that. They chose to do that. And it just speaks to the culture that DQ has instilled. Like, a lot of you are over DQ, the culture setter, right? You're over that he's a great guy. This is an illustration of that. If I'm injured and I don't like you and I don't like the facility, I don't like being around the guys and the culture that you've created, it just gives me a reason to be at home. I don't want to be there, right? Guys are injured and they want to be in that building. That speaks to DQ and what he's built. That said, it hasn't translated to the field this year, and there are various reasons as to why. But again, you can't have it both ways. We can't laud and praise the culture for being good when we're good and then laugh at it and say that it's not good because we're not good. The culture in the building is what it is. This is still an upbeat team despite their record and having not won in over 2 months. They still are playing hard for DQ. Now, the results are what they are, but this is not a team that has quit on their staff. We've seen that before, mind you. We watched the deterioration of an entire roster. Even the leaders like Terry McLaurin were over it in 2023. Sam Cosmi questioning, what are we doing? Why don't we run the ball? We've seen this before with our own eyes. That's not what's happening right now. It's not. You can question the product on the field. You can question if they're being coached correctly. All of that is within reason. What you can't question is the actual brotherhood and the culture that has been set in place by DQ. And this is another example of that. Again, I'm not telling you to give him a gold star because of the culture. All right. This ain't the Prince of Darkness talking about we got damn good culture here. Nobody cares when you're getting your back kicked in and you're 3-10 about your culture. I'm aware. I'm just using this to illustrate the point that this team has not quit on Dan Quinn, and they're not going to. For those of you who want to suggest that that's happening or it's going to happen, it's not. It's not. He was asked, how do y'all bounce back from Sunday's ass whooping? And he said, look, we got our ass whooped Sunday. We continued the ass whooping on Monday. And then you got to turn the page on Tuesday, and we got to be better, and we got to do the things that give us a chance to be better. As coaches, we got to put our players in a position to be better. We got to do all the things that are necessary for us to have a chance to be better. But we put ourselves in this position. Now we got to get ourselves out. That was basically his message. He then was asked about Tell the Truth Mondays. Been a lot of those this year, haven't they? Does he address the team? Does he address the coaches? Both. He's like, I address both. And so he was asked to go into explicit detail. Basically he just talked about how they go about correcting mistakes, things that they see on film, whether they win or lose. It's Tell the Truth Monday, regardless. But there've been a lot of Tell the Truth Mondays that haven't been positive this season. I would imagine the one this past week was probably one of the worst. We've gotten our ass kicked a lot this season, so hard to really differentiate one from the next, but we got shut out by a 4-win team that had gotten shut out the week before. I would imagine that this past week's Tell the Truth Monday was pretty brutal, to say the least. DQ was asked by John Keim very early on in the press conference about Johnny Newton and his placement. And DQ talked about Johnny playing on the edge. Now, Ben Standing later on in the press conference asked for clarification. He's like, what you mean, defensive end? And DQ was like, no. I meant on the edge of an interior offensive lineman. That's where he's at his best. And that's true. That's where Johnny won when he was at Illinois. You would place him at the edge of a center, at the edge of a guard, and that would give him that edge he needs to be able to win quickly and turn the corner and flatten to the quarterback. We need to see more of that from Johnny Newton. That's how he's going to be able to make his mark in the NFL. They say they see the quickness now. They see the explosiveness, the get off, all of those things that they're looking for from Johnny Newton. If they say they see it, I believe them. Now we just need to see it on the field. Okay? So let's see if that is something that starts to translate for them. Because if you can't get Johnny to play at a high level, that's going to be a hurtful pick there. We can't keep missing on second round picks, especially Johnny was the first of all of those second round picks. He's the one of all of them that needed to hit. He needs to be a guy that they end up re-signing and bringing back here. It doesn't feel like that's going to happen, but keep in mind, we're just 2 years into Johnny Newton. Just like all of those guys in that 2024 class that a lot of you have written off, there's still time. There's still time. And then he gave a JD5 update, which was basically him saying that he practiced all week, which is a good thing, obviously. He still has not been cleared for contact. They're going to reevaluate him next week, which we've heard already. And they felt like he looked good in practice this week. They felt like he did some good things in practice this week. But again, they're going to allow his health, and this is DQ basically said, they're going to allow his health to be the determining factor as to whether or not he's brought back this season or not. So that's where they are with Jaden Daniels. We'll see what they ultimately decide to do. So feels like he's going to be back, though, if I had to guess. Anyway, we're going to get a word from one of our sponsors, come back on the other side, and then we will get to the game plan for this week's contest versus the New York Football Giants. Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat in the games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips. Play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper. All right, so we are now into the game plan for the Giants game this weekend. And I'll tell you this. I didn't make anything formal for this. Who cares, right? It's the toilet bowl. It's the tank bowl. You call it whatever you want. It's two bad teams doing what they usually do on an annual basis, which is go against one another for the right to have the highest draft pick that year. Like, I'm sick of this shit, to be honest with you. We were here with them, in 2019. We were here with them in 2023. We skipped a year, and now we're back with them again in 2025. I'm sick of it, honestly. But I will say this, all right? This is a pretty simple game for me to diagnose as a Commanders fan. Jackson Dart is going to have his way with us unless we somehow find a way to get pressure on him. But he's a slippery guy. He can run and use his legs. We aren't an athletic defense, so he should be able to maneuver his way around the field against this defense with little to no resistance. He's going to have an opportunity to find open receivers, his tight ends, his receivers, running backs out of the backfield, etc. There should be little to no resistance, as we saw with J.J. McCarthy last week. I'm going to say this. I expect the Commanders to get Jackson Dart and this Giants offense to third downs, much like they did last week against the Minnesota Vikings and J.J. McCarthy. The problem last week was we couldn't get off the field on those third downs. I think that's going to be another problem in this game, is that Jackson Dart will find open receivers on third downs that will move the sticks, and they will be in a position to win this game. Now, here's something that I don't think you can really account for with two bad football teams. Who's going to make the least amount of mistakes? Right now, that team usually is the Giants. Now, their record doesn't indicate that, but that's why they've been in more ball games this season against quality opponents than we have. When we've seen a good team for the most part this season, we've gotten our asses kicked. When the Giants have seen good football teams, they've been in the game. They had a chance to beat Kansas City with Russell Wilson that was Jackson Dart's, I think, second start, his first as at home. But they had a chance to beat Kansas City. They should have beat Detroit. They should have beat Chicago, right? They did beat Philadelphia. They've been in a lot of ball games. They should have beat Denver. They were up by a gajillion against Denver and blew it. Not like us, right? So here's what this game comes down to. Can we run the football at an elite enough level to win us the game like Detroit did? The answer is no. I don't think so. Can you force turnovers without giving it away yourself? Until otherwise notified, the answer is no for us. We don't create turnovers, and we damn sure don't protect the football. That's something we haven't done since Detroit, I think. The Detroit game. I think we didn't turn it over in week 10 versus the Detroit Lions. I think. And before that game, you got to go all the way back to week 2. Is the last time we didn't turn the football over. So I said all of that to say this. We don't take care of the football. We don't force takeaways. While we are good at running the football, we're not elite at it. We don't get stops defensively, not enough of them anyway. We're not good enough on third down. We don't apply enough pressure on the quarterback. Everything that the Giants need to win this game is there for them, as long as they don't self-destruct. But you're talking to a 2-11 team. 2-11 teams get to 2-11 because they self-destruct. That's what they do. So all bets are off in this game. My guess is the Giants will be able to do a lot of the things that they haven't been able to do this season against us, because that's what happens when you play the Commanders. All the shit that you've struggled with against everyone else, you find remedies for them against us. They haven't been able to stop the run. They'll probably stop the run at a high clip against us this week, is my guess. Remember, when we played the Bears back in week 6, the Bears were the second to worst rush defense in football, and we're on a historical pace in terms of yards per carry given up. What did they do against us? They shut the run down. Dallas, same thing. Couldn't stop the run to save their life. What did they do against us? They shut the damn run down. I surmise that the Giants are going to be able to do the same thing. Raiders and Vikings couldn't stop turning the football over. They didn't turn it over not a single time against us in those ball games. Giants haven't been able to hold a fourth quarter lead to save their life. I guarantee you, if they're leading in the fourth quarter, they'll hold on to this one. Whatever's ailing you, we have the remedy. If you're the Commanders, it's simple. Run the football, stay away from penalties, don't turn it over, try and create a turnover, win special teams, and one other facet of the game. It ain't going to be defense. So win offense, win special teams, run the football, don't turn it over, win on third downs, both offensively and defensively. And if you can create a turnover, great. If you can't, just don't turn it over yourself. You'll have a chance to win. If you're the Giants, it's really simple. Just don't turn the ball over. Convert, stay away from penalties, convert on third downs, you'll win the game. Don't allow the Commanders to run for 255 yards and 3 touchdowns, you'll win the game. I want the Giants to win the game, by the way. I'm not rooting for it, but I want them to win. At this point, there's no purpose with Jaden out. That's the only reason I want the win streak to continue. I don't mind the streak being snapped with a win over Marcus Mariota. Doesn't hurt my feelings one bit. Doesn't hurt. I can still say with my chest proudly stuck out, Jaden Daniels is 3-0 versus the New York Giants. This isn't going to change that one bit. Then the Giants won't feel due for a win next week or next year when the slate is completely clean. They won't go, well, we've lost to the Commanders 4 straight games. We're due for a win. No, you can have it right now. No worries. You can have the win right now. 26-20 Giants in this ball game. Mariota will run the offense effectively. He'll do all the things that this team needs him to do to give us a chance. But in typical Mariota fashion this season, it won't be enough. There'll be a mistake somewhere in there. They'll make some sort of blunder when they could ill afford to have it happen. This defense will be a sieve again, and the Giants this time will find a way to hold on in the fourth quarter. That's my take. We'll see what happens. Got one super chat, and then we'll get out of here. This super chat is from Club 100 TV, who writes, team rushing to get JD to last year's form. You can't rush him to health. Like, there's nothing you can do to get him back healthy. Like, this is why it doesn't make any sense to keep trying to get him back out on the field so he can show you that he's the guy from last year. He's not going to show you that this year because he's not healthy. Like, I hear people talking about I saw someone in the comment, every game Jaden Daniels has started this year, this team has looked off. That's not true. That's a false narrative. We weren't sharp in week 1 versus the Giants. We weren't. But again, byproduct of Terry just got here. Noah Brown just came back. So you were kind of on the fly trying to figure shit out. He looked sharp with Debo. The connection with Debo looked fine to me. The guy that he had been practicing with the entire summer. He comes back in week 5 against the Chargers. The team looked off in that game. We scored 27 unanswered points. What are you talking about? He was rusty in the first half, sure. But at the tail end of the second quarter, all the way through the second half, he was money. Yeah, he threw a bad pick early in the Bears game, and he had the fumble where the ball slipped out of it. He threw 3 touchdown passes and was carving up that Bears defense in week 6. The offense and the team did not look off in that game. I've seen Jaden look like Jaden this season when he was healthy. He was healthy the first 6 weeks, minus the 2 weeks he missed after the Green Bay game. When he came back in week 5, he could have played in week 4 against the Falcons. He could have played. DQ told us he had a great simulated game on the Saturday before. He could have played that week. They kept him out as a precautionary measure. When he came back in week 5, he was himself. That's why he looked the way he looked in week 6, 5, and 6. He hasn't been himself since week 7 when he got injured versus Dallas. Now, the Seahawks game, I think he was perfectly fine. He just didn't play well in that game at all. Then he got hurt, and he clearly is not himself now. with the elbow injury. So anyway, I digress. You can't rush him back to health. Only time is going to be able to fix that. Mask Pro, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, my Jags friend said Diami was a healthy scratch. I'm not surprised. He has been a disappointment over there. He was dropping the ball earlier. They had such high hopes for Diami. And that's why I say when people are like, we should have. Now, Diami might have been better off for us because we know Diami. We know what he's capable of. We know what to ask him to do. We know what not. They were asking Diami to be a legitimate number 2 over there. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait a minute. My guy, what are you doing? And I'll tell you this. After Diami flames out in Jacksonville and he's looking for work next year, I would gladly welcome him back here on a nice, cheap, wholesome 1 year, $3.54 million deal. I would welcome him back with open arms next year. Open arms. Get them Chris Moores and all of them other bum ass dudes out of here. Them 32-year-old receipt. Get them dudes. Get them dudes out of here. Right? I would much rather have Diami Brown here. So I would bring him back in a heartbeat. Because it won't cost, like, I wasn't re-signing Diami Brown for $10 million. Are you out of your mind? Jacksonville lost their marbles. But for $3.5–4 million, I'll bring him back I'll bring him home for sure. I'll bring him home without question. Wonton Slim, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Wonton Slim writes, I'm not a Commanders fan, but I'm a Lou fan. Part of me wishes you were half decent because the show is way better when Lou has some shit to talk. Look, man, it is what it is, man. I appreciate you supporting the show and the brand, despite not being a Commanders fan. I agree with you. The show is much better when I have some shit to talk. I have none. So this is what you get. You get humble Lou. You get humble Louie. Humble Louie is not the same as grimy Louie, right? Confident Louie, not the same guy. But our team's 3-10. We've lost 8 straight, 5 of which by 3 or more touchdowns. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? I got nothing for you, bro. This is the best I can do. It's the best I can do. It's all I got. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. You see what happened? You see what almost happened? They almost made me slip up. 10 losses, 8 straight, 5 of which are by 3 touchdowns or more. It'll do that to you. I hate it here, bro. I hate it. We're playing the Giants. 3-10 versus 2-11. Lord help us all. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. We will have a skill game for this Giants Commanders game this weekend. So we'll have that tomorrow at some point. But you guys enjoy the weekend, and I'll see you on Sunday. Peace.